Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked? Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USA Prepares. John is engineering the broadcast in Minnesota. And he told me that a lot of broadcasts on the radio today are about politics. And one of the things he likes about USA Prepares is we don't talk about politics. And what I was mentioning to him was that politicians, representatives are those who work for the common good, and politicians are those who work for their own good. And I mentioned to him that, a politician may say, you may be with a politician. If you weren't paying attention, you could be sitting next to one in your vehicle, God forbid. But if that happens, a politician may say, to a young politician, hey, have you ever driven a Jeep? No? Well, I know this guy. Well, turn left. And we're getting really close. A couple more miles down the road, and he's got a dealership. Let's go see him. He's a good buddy. Let's go say hi to him. So you end up at the dealership, and the owner comes out, and boy, you feel really good because now you're talking to the owner, the CEO of the dealership, and he says, "Hey, well, is red okay? I've got a nice red one out there. You guys go take it for a ride." And you come back and you go, "That was fun." And then the CEO says, "Tell you what, weekend's coming up. Why don't you just take it for the weekend?" Then you come back on Monday, and he says, "Look, I got plenty of them. I got so many Jeeps here. Just keep it for a while. I'll let you know if I need it back. If we sell it, I'll let you know, and you can bring it back." So now you've got a Jeep, and you're driving around 3, 4, 5 days, a week, 2 weeks, and then pretty soon it's a month. Now you think you have a free Jeep. That's politics. Now that politician wants something from you, because he engineered it. The CEO of the dealership wants something from you. And you're thinking that you saved money on a car, and now you've spent the money that you would have spent on a car because you got this free Jeep. And pretty soon you get in deeper and deeper. That's what politicians do to young politicians. That's how it works. Mike Ma's with us. Welcome, Mike Ma.
Good morning, Vincent.
Good morning, Mike.
I love your attitude on politics and politicians.
I hate them. I hate politicians. Politicians are, they're in the business of stealing. They steal from all of us, through laws that they enact, and we call them lawmakers. And those are rules, right? They make more rules. There's so many rules, Mike. I think if I went out of my driveway from the farm, turned left, went 10 miles in my car, turned around and came home, I'm sure I would have broken some laws. Because there's so many laws. I agree
with you. That's exactly what happens whenever I come back to the States. I end up breaking more and more laws all the time, and I don't do anything. And
that's what I mean.
So I had somebody call the police on me the other day. I was out checking the fence, and the sheriff came up, and he said they had a call, and I got a bicycle. I'm trying an electric bicycle on the ranch. Uh-huh. And they said they saw somebody on a bicycle with a gun. And I said, yeah, you must be talking about me. And I said, I'm breaking the law. And they said, no. And I said, okay, well, no problem then. But, I break laws all the time. And I don't even have to leave the ranch to break them. Just like you said, just drive around and you broke a law. It's continuous. Yeah.
It really frosts me. And one night, Mike, you probably don't know this, but our son came back, and this was probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. Our son came back, and all of our children have curfews, okay, regardless of how old they are, okay, because it's not fair to keep mom up waiting, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and nothing good happens after midnight anyway, right? So it's not fair to keep the parents up waiting, because children are children, whether they're 30 years old, 25 years old, 15 years old, they're still the children. Well, so we have a curfew, still is in existence, and our children, some of them are over 30 years old. We still have a curfew, 11 o'clock. And so one night, our son came home like 11:15, and he was kind of concerned because he was late. I said, "So what's up?" And he said, "Well, they had a lot of police in our little town. Our little town is like 3 businesses: a general store, a post office, and a farmer's market or a farmer's cooperative. That's it. That's the whole town. And 200 feet of town. That's it." Well, he said, "Boy, there are a lot of cops out in town." "Really? Why?" "I don't know, Dad." He said, "But there are a lot of cops, and I had to go really slow and had to wait and that kind of stuff." And so I came home and we were talking about it. Next thing we know, we're looking out the window, and a police car comes to our house. Drives slowly down the driveway. It's a long driveway. It's a third of a mile long. Drives behind the house, drives around the garage, does a U-turn, turns around, slowly leaves. So I called the county sheriff's office, and I said, "So, police car was here. What's going on?" And the gal said, "Well, she didn't know because it's a big county." I said, "Yeah, but so don't you know where your deputies are?" No, it's a big county." So, to make a long story short, she said she didn't know who the cop was. And I said, "You mean to tell me that that guy doesn't get on the radio and say, 'Look, I'm going to the Finelli's house. If you don't hear from me in 30 minutes, send a whole bunch more cops because something bad happened?'" She said, No. Finally, so I called the surrounding counties, every county that touched our county. I called state police. I said, "You guys here?" State police said, "Well, we've got a screen here, and I can see where all the guys are." And no, it wasn't us. I said, "Would you call our county and talk to Linda?" Because Linda wouldn't give me her last name. She's the dispatcher, and she said it wasn't, our county. State police dispatcher called me back, said, yeah, I talked to her, and it was your guys, your county. So I called Linda back, and I told her she lied to me, she breached the public trust, and on Monday morning I was going to do my best to get her fired. So ultimately I talked to the sheriff on Monday morning, and he said, "Vincent, a lot of people like it when we come to their houses." I said, "Not me." "Not me. Do not come to my house. Do not trespass. Do not come to my house."
Well,
and he was
they're
taking
not public once they come to your house.
Right.
They're supposed to be public servants, public service.
Right.
And when they come to your house for no reason, then it's not.
Well, he was taken back by me saying, "I don't want you guys on my property. It's my property." He was absolutely upset. And then I thought, I've got to run for sheriff. And then I couldn't win for sheriff around here because you have to be related. You have to be from here, Mike. You're in Oklahoma. Have you noticed that, to all the people who have these positions that have been elected or selected are from there? They're all related to each other, and they vote for their family, and no one else has a chance to get in. And the people who are in office, don't let their family know how much they're on the take and how much they get. compared to the guy who works for a living. Have you noticed that in Oklahoma as well?
Yes. No, it's that's the problem we have in the representative type atmosphere. They're representing, when you get in there, then you drag in relations and friends and people that you can work with, and that's the way the system is set up. It's not a good system, but it's in time. That's what happens. There's no way to control it. There's no way to stop it, other than having morals, doing the right thing. But once you get rid of their morals, then, when you don't understand what's right and what's wrong, you tend to kind of stumble around. And that's what's been going on for a long time.
When I lived in Virginia, I had a computer manufacturing business, and I built a lot of networks for a lot of companies, hospitals, doctors' offices, small businesses, concrete companies, and even the county government. And I was working on a computer network at the county government office, and the guy who ran the county, we'll call him the county administrator, the guy who is paid. He's not elected. He's paid by the county. He's the highest paid guy in the county. And, he makes decisions about everything, pothole repairs, what the county government workers are going to do, all that stuff. And the refrigerator in their office quit. So he gets on the phone. I'm working in there, and he says, "Hey, I need a new refrigerator. Can you bring us something good? Bring us a good refrigerator." So he's calling the local guy in the town that's in the county, who's probably a relative of the county administrator. Just bring us a refrigerator. Oh, I don't know. Just get us a good one. I don't care how much it costs. Just get us a good one. Now, I know that purchases at the government level have to be done by bidding, okay? You want a refrigerator, and you can justify it, and the taxpayers don't revolt, you get 3 bids, sealed bids, okay? Sealed bids, so you can get the lowest price for the taxpayer. That's not what this guy did. He just bought a refrigerator. He didn't care about the taxpayers. He didn't care about the laws. He didn't care about the rules. He wanted a refrigerator. That's the stuff that goes on. And they buy them at way, way too high a price from their relatives or their connections. We'll be right back. USMC Mike Ma's with us. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Combat Marine. Mike, you sent me an email, and I read parts of it the last few days, last week, and I said, okay, so the news reports in this fictitious news report, the news sources that are still available to be heard say distant gunfire and distant fires through the night, smokes in the air. Electricity and water are unavailable or on or off in spots throughout the city. The National Defense Act starts, which is martial law. No planes are flying. There's a curfew. No one is out after dark. Everyone stays home. No one goes out or goes to work. And the question that you have is, your plans for the day? What are you going to do?
Yeah. It's surprising when things go bad. I'm surprised how people not only don't have a plan, but they don't even have the materials they need to form a plan. And that's what we do here a lot, is we talk about all the different things that could happen, because we're like you. We live out in the country. And we've already gone through an ice storm in which we lost power for over 2 weeks. And of course, the roads, you can't get anywhere on the roads and stuff like that. So these are things that we have to think about and prepare for all the time. And but there's city folk that they have no idea what they're going to be doing. And I can't even imagine. Well, okay, I was lived in China a lot of last year, and you don't live, and I was living in a city, on the edge of a city, and I couldn't figure out, well, what do you do? I mean, and the only thing that I come up with there was, just let the government tell me what to do. So, in other words, when they tell me, then I was lived on a 22-story apartment building. Okay, what I do is I wait for them to announce it, and then I go down to the corner and get on the bus, and they're going to bus me off somewhere. And but the idea is I didn't have any options. I didn't know what to do, or I had no options and nowhere to look. So, but here in the United States, we're supposed to be taking personal responsibility. And if there is gunfire through the night, and things are getting kind of hairy, in which they stop everything, in which, because you're not going to go out. It reminded me kind of like Bosnia when they were just shooting at people randomly, and it could happen. They've already been doing it. I say that I think it was a father and son out on the East Coast was doing it, and then I say Vegas about a year ago, and this is enough to just bring the whole system down to a stop. But what are you going to do when you're sitting at home now? And like I say, I don't think people really think this out. You really need to, are you going to have lighting when bad things happen like that? And now, like you say, I was a combat Marine in Vietnam, and at night, when it's dark, you don't move around. That's the worst time to get out and move around. So that means if you're going to be in the house, what are you going to do to keep the people that aren't staying in their house? The predators, the looters, what are you going to be doing? How are you going to protect your house? And what we have set up here in our community at night, each household is on their own. If you need help in the morning, we'll come over and help you out. But if something happens in the night, you're going to have to, hold your own. And I don't know if people think about this in the city. How are you going to hold your own? How long? And what are you doing for water and food and all this stuff, especially if it goes on for more than, 3 or 4 days?
I've got a couple comments when we come back about what you just said. Mike Ma. There's only one Mike Ma. He's live right now. So here's what happened. Mike, early this morning, I'm talking about it was still dark outside. And it was the quiet of the early morning. The dogs started barking. All of the dogs started barking. We have layers of dogs protecting our farm. They all started barking and let us know that something wasn't right. Next thing we knew, there was a knock at the door. This is out of the ordinary. Who shows up before it's daylight, okay, unannounced, and what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So we already know what to do. And what happened was this guy lives near us, and he needed a tool. He needed a 3/8 inch drive socket, square drive, deep socket, 8-point. I don't make them. They don't use square nuts anymore. They use hex nuts. So for 40 years, there's no need to make tools to work with square nuts. Well, for some reason, he thought Vinny might have the answer. So he decided to come see Vinny. And I had the answer, and I sent him out with exactly what he needed. And then he needed some welding rods. 60 13 welding rods, 1/8 inch in diameter. That's okay. Got them too. So the point of that is, he showed up unannounced. Now, what would you do? I'm not talking about Mike Ma, but class, what would you do? There the dogs are again. You might be able to hear them through the walls. But we've got layers of dogs. One sees something he doesn't understand, doesn't fit with the routine, he starts alerting us, and then the rest of them. And they are ready to protect the Finelli family with their lives. That's what they do. So what are you going to do, class, when that happens? Now, fortunately, it was a nice guy. He just needed a little bit of help. But second day, there's distant gunfire. There's fires throughout the night. There's smoke in the air. The electricity's down. People are on edge. And there's a knock on your door early in the morning. What are you going to do? Mike?
Even worse is in the evening. What are you going to do? Mm-hmm. This is what we were talking about that the other day, and I was saying if I was on the road and the traffic was stopped in front of me, like maybe 100 yards or so because of gunfire, I wouldn't stay in my car. I would try to get into a house. And so this could be what's happening on something like what you're suggesting. There's gunfire going on, and then all of a sudden there's a knock on the door. That doesn't necessarily mean this is a threat, but you need to have a plan on how you're going to open the door. Now, you've got the dogs. One time I was living in a small town, and I had motion detectors all around my house. So, I could tell when somebody was coming. My motion detector would start beeping, and then the door would knock. And then so I knew there was somebody there. The problem is sometimes the motion detector would go off on the side of the house, and then in the back of the house, and then in the front of the house. Now, that's not a good thing. And we've got the system on how we're going to do it, how we're going to open doors, but we don't stand back and allow them to make entrance. And but you need to have a plan on how you're going to do this stuff. And waiting for the door to be knocked on isn't a good plan. That's what I'm saying. That's why I like the dogs. Dogs is a good thing. Now, you do both. I might be saying too much here, but I know, like you say, you got layers of dogs, not only on the outside, but on the inside. And so, you've got plenty of warning everywhere, but you have to have that warning before you can enact some kind of a plan on what you're going to do. And like I say, and I'm shocked in the morning when you said you had somebody coming in the morning, and and I'm thinking I even know who that is. I'm thinking it's your neighbor, and I think I know who he is. So he knows you, and he knows you're up, and all this stuff. But you don't go in early in the morning unless you know somebody, and it's the same thing in the evenings. You don't go, so it's probably not going to be a good thing, but it could be. It could be somebody that's like you. They needed help. So, and country folk, they do a little bit of different timeline than many others. So I can see how he would come, and you have to be aware that kind of stuff is going to happen. And
Mike, here's what could happen. Okay, in a typical house, not in our house, but in a typical house, it could go like this. Let's say that there's a husband and a wife, and the child, and the child's, let's say, a millennial, absolutely zonked out asleep because he was playing video games all night or texting with his friends, or every time the buzzer went off on his phone, the silent ring, he's up all night saying, I don't know, what are you doing? I don't know, what are you doing? I don't know, what do you want to do? I don't know. That kind of nonsense. So he's up all night, and so there's a knock, and then the husband says, hey, you go get the front door, I'll get the back door, and, get your gun, and you stand over there. And she says, which door? You get the front door, I'll get the back door. Okay, and where do you want me to stand? Right there. Okay. Where's my gun? You don't know where your gun is? Oh, jeez. Not a good time. Okay, take the baseball bat. Where is it? You don't know where it is? I can see this happening, right?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Are we describing the kind of training that you demonstrate? I mean, I've been trained by you. I know what it's like to get shot. Yeah. I mean, I know what it's like to bleed. I'm not going to let that happen again, Mike.
That's the idea. That is the idea. Once you understand and know what it's really like, now you can plan and prepare around that. And that's what a lot of people, they really don't understand how things happen so fast. And you can, like I say, to me, a split of a second is valuable. And I think it's odd how people measure things in seconds and minutes when you don't have that much time. I mean,
absolutely
the whole
not.
situation's going to change in a split of a second.
Well, the proof of that is you watch TV class and you see the police show up really quietly, and then they all jump out of the van, and they've got their flak jackets on, they've got their helmets on, they've got their face protection on so you can't see who they are. They've got, some guys have machine guns, some guys have more powerful weapons. One guy's got this big battering ram, and they all line up, ready, set. They've got radios, they can talk to each other, got headsets, ready, set, breach. And then they bash down the door, they throw in the flashbang grenade, and then they're pointing their guns at everybody that's in the house. It's that fast. Probably 3 seconds at the most.
Yep, that's right. And even street gangs have got that down pretty good. They once they get in position, once they get a little bit of experience, they can enter a house and take control of it pretty quick. And you're correct, in seconds. And the only thing that can stop it is your actions in a split of a second. So if it takes you a second or two to get to your firearm, you're already running behind. So that split of a second isn't going to be around much longer.
So people have been trained by the government corporation. You have to protect your children from your guns. So let's say you have a 10, 12, 15-year-old, and, well, heck, they're not responsible, right? So you've got to lock up your firearm. And, you certainly wouldn't want to put a magazine loaded in there. And God forbid, you certainly wouldn't want to put a round in the chamber. And if you have a revolver, you can't have any rounds in the cylinder, right? Because that wouldn't be safe. So now it's locked up. The ammo is in one place. The firearm's in another place. It's locked up. And now you can't remember the combination, right? Or you can't find the key. Or the battery's dead in this safe and it won't work. I mean, are these unrealistic? No. They're absolutely realistic. So I think that if you have a gun, it needs to be ready to go. And then how do you protect your children from the dangers of a firearm? You train them. That's what we did. We trained them. Again and again and again and over and over and over. So they knew what damage, the devastation that can happen when a bullet hits the target. We let them see that. And we practiced at a very young age. One of our boys wanted to shoot an M1 when he was 6 years old. And he said, no, I can do it. And I said, no, I don't think so. I said, no, I can do it. I want to do it, Dad. And before that, he shot a 22 rifle. I said, okay. Right? So he went to the range, and I put one cartridge in the M1. I said, hold on tight. Squeezed off the round, and he was crying right after that. It's like, whoa! Oh, wow! He wasn't expecting that. So he was pretty careful. So that's one way. We'll be right back. Mike Moss with us. Mike, you made a bunch of comments about people don't think it out. Let me give you just one simple example. Women who wear high heels, okay? How does that make any sense at all? You can't drive safely in a vehicle with high heels. You can't operate the pedals with high heels. Cannot be done. If you have a flat tire, you can't change your flat tire with high heels. If you're stranded, you can't walk in high heels. It makes no sense at all. But women still do it. They still wear high heels. Makes no sense.
Well,
Mrs.
I'm
Finelli, I don't think...
granted that they've got something in the trunk, like I do. I got my AK and other necessary items to get me through whatever situation. So I would think they would have their tennis shoes or hiking shoes in the back. What's your thought?
I'm not so sure. And, it used to absolutely frost me when I'd go to a meetup and it would be, really cool weather and I'd see guys in sandals. I'm talking about Roman sandals. And I'm thinking, well, it's not raining now, but it could get really cold and you could have a fan belt flip off or break, and you get stranded on the way home. How's that going to work with the sandals? I don't get it. I just don't get it. People don't think things through. Wearing flip-flops when they're driving is not safe. You have to have shoes on that fit, preferably laced shoes. I mean, I can't imagine Emerson Fittipaldi driving his race car with flip-flops. I've never been on the racetrack with flip-flops. It's nuts. It makes no sense. It can't be done. So that's just addressing that one point that you made about people don't think it out or think it through or plan. And I've taught mini-max regret. And that's just simply, how do you minimize your maximum regret? It's a woman who was driving her car on the interstate, and she was behind a truck, and a sheet of plywood flew out. Magically flew out of the back of his truck and went right through her window, 4 feet by 8 feet. And I was behind some jerk in Springfield yesterday, and I was in my car. I was visiting a farm, helping out. And so I was on the highway. It's 3 lanes. I'm in the slow lane, just in my vehicle. Guy comes up the entry ramp in his pickup truck, flies, passes me on the right, flies in front of me, passes into the fast lane, cuts everybody off, and he's got several sheets of plywood in the back of his pickup, and it's a 6.5-foot bed with 8 feet of plywood, so 1.5 feet of plywood sticking out, unsecured, no straps holding anything down, and he's in the fast lane riding the guy in front of him's tail because that guy wasn't going fast enough. I guess 65 isn't fast enough in a 60-mile-an-hour zone. So, there are plenty of things that can happen to us. I try to avoid as many as possible, as many as I'm aware of. But people do stupid things, and other people aren't paying attention. Nobody backed off. I'm the only guy that backed off from this jerk with the plywood. Just me. I'm the only guy that backed away from him. Everybody else thought, I don't know what they were thinking. I guess they were listening to the radio, with their headset on. Whatever else they were doing. Putting their makeup on, I don't know. Well, no. Mike, I've got some bad news. I've been promoting our little get-together, 26th of this month, Friday, if we have enough people. And right now we have 6. 6 people. That's all I've been able to find. 6 people. One email, just one email. We need 10 to 25. So unless people get on the stick and send me an email at instructor at USA Prepares or Vincent at USA Prepares or somehow contact me, it's not going to happen. Do you want to meet Mike Ma? You can. Instructor at USA Prepares. Give us your name and your phone number. We'll give you a call. Time's running out. If you want to see him and you want the training that you'll never get anywhere else, get on the stick. Mike Ma and I'll be right back after top of the hour news and commercial announcements. Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Here we go. Hour number 2 with Mike Ma. Dan Sutterfield's on hold. Dan, just give me 1 minute, please. I want to mention something germane to what Mike and I were talking about during the first hour. So, class, you may not hear this, depending on the news that is inserted at your local station. So if you're listening, you may not have heard this, but we just heard it, top of the hour news. So a man breaks into a house, and he makes himself breakfast. And then he starts washing his clothes in the clothes washing machine. And the owner says, hey, what are you doing? And he says, well, I'm waiting for my clothes to dry. And she says, you got to leave. And he says, not until my clothes are dry. Now, that just happened. We didn't make that up. That was in the news. And that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. What do you do when you're surprised like that? Now, we'll give Mike a couple minutes to respond to that while Dan Sutterfield in Missouri spends a few minutes with us. Dan, welcome.
Good morning. How you doing, Vince?
Very well.
Good to hear Mike on the air.
Isn't he great?
Dan.
Yes, we met at one of the expos. You worked on me a little bit.
Okay. Good.
I'll never forget that. That was much appreciated. Vince, as you know, and I think you've mentioned it, I tried to sweeten the pot a little bit, by no means trying to take the thunder away from Mike. Everybody that shows up to this Mike Ma fundraiser deal, I'll give them a 4-day class at Front Sight. They won't be a member, but I can give them a 4-day class, no problem. Happy to do it. That's only worth about $2,000. Now Mike's worth more than that, no argument. But that's a nice cherry on top of the sundae, wouldn't you think?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Very good.
Absolutely.
All right. I'm as frustrated as you are about this thing of people not wanting to come in and enjoy the fellowship and the transfer of knowledge. So I'm going to put another cherry on top. Out of all the people that show up, we'll have a drawing of some sort. I'll pick a number, write it on a piece of paper, turn it over on the desk, let people give me their best estimate. I don't know how we'll pick it, but it'll be honest and above board, and I'll give to one person out of whoever shows up a lifetime membership at Front Sight. Now that's advertised on their website as a $25,000 membership.
Man.
I'll give one away. Everybody's going to go home with the chance to go once, if they want it. I can't poke it down their throat. They're going to have to create an account. That costs them nothing. Call me on the phone, give me their login ID. As soon as they do that, I can transfer a 4-day class into their account that they've created. So everybody gets that. One person, if 5 show, whatever you choose, Vince, if you cut it off, you got to have 10, you got to have 8, whatever the number is, I'll give away one lifetime membership to them. That costs them nothing. So
one of our, Dan, I really appreciate this, and I hope our class understands what you're doing. One of our instructors, I don't even mention his name, Joey, in Michigan, said he would throw in $500 to help, to have an event with Rick Miller, Mike Ma, Norm Shealy. He would throw in $500 to make sure that Mike and Rick get there.
I'll do the same thing on that one. It's not a contest. I'm just saying I could do the same thing for that one, happily.
The thing I can't understand is that the phone hasn't been ringing off the hook. And I'm not going to give out my phone number anymore. I'm not going to do it. But I did give out my email address, Vincent at usapreparedness.com, and the instructor's email address. And I'm absolutely embarrassed that we don't have 500 people that want to come. I can't get over it. I can't get over it. There was a preparedness expo in Indianapolis, Indiana, back in the late 1990s. I lived in Virginia. It was 1,100 miles away. I drove our family 1,100 miles each way because I thought it was that important. I don't think people realize how important it is to meet Mike Ma. It is an absolute life-changing event. No question. No, literally. I'm at a loss to be able to explain this.
I would agree.
You know, I'm looking happily at my left wrist, which has been scarred for life by Mike Ma.
Was that with the wax bullets?
Yeah.
I remember that story.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at it right now. I've got a 9mm size wound in my right wrist from Mike Ma, bleeding. I mean, that's just one. I can't see the ones on my back. But I've been shot multiple times during that training. And I'll tell you what, I didn't let it happen again.
Made a believer out of you, didn't it?
Well, let me just, for those who haven't heard the story, yes, it did. So we're in the kitchen. There's 5 of us, our son and 4 instructors. And we have all these guns on the kitchen table, all kinds of guns, real guns. I'm not talking about paintball. I'm talking about rifle, pistol, shotgun. And Mike says, and you know, I'm slightly out of the circle of guys. Mike says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm getting ready. I'm putting my rider jacket on, my blue jean rider jacket to go with my blue jeans." Mike goes, "Oh, no. You can't wear that. You have to wear a T-shirt."
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And our son, still has his memento of the event with holes in his T-shirt. He's kind of proud of where he was shot. Holes in his T-shirt. From where the wax bullets went through the T-shirt and wounded him. And it's the kind of training that let me tell you what. We did this home invasion training. It was as real as could be. We had face masks on to protect our eyesight. But we took everything that was glass that could be shattered out of the house. Because bullets were flying. And they were wax bullets. And when I say wax, I'm not talking about silly putty wax. I'm talking about candle wax, crayon wax.
Paraffin, yeah.
Well, paraffin plus. It was pretty hard. And we still have dents in the wall in the kitchen from where the bullets went flying. When every time my son popped his head up from behind the island in the kitchen, every time he popped his head up to get a shot at the other guys, projectiles went whizzing past his face. Tight group, Well, in that kind of shootout, 3 inches, that's a pretty tight group. Well, it was absolutely memorable. I'll never forget that. Never. And during the second round of training, everybody was coming after me. And I just learned by bleeding that this is not a lot of fun to get shot. And I wouldn't let them shoot me. And I shot everybody the next round. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's what it takes. And I remember I had my face mask on, and I was concealed and covered, okay? And they were coming to get me, and there's no place for me to go. I was trapped. And I waited till I saw the whites of their eyes. And my face mask, I mean, it was the closest thing to wetting my pants that I had gotten, okay? And I'm sure many guys in combat have done exactly that. Well, my face mask was fogging up, and there's no way that Mike was going to let me say, and he didn't know where I was, but I was within maybe 10 feet from him. And he was crouched down. He didn't see me, but I could just barely see him, and I knew exactly where to shoot. And they were coming after me, all these guys. And I couldn't say, yo, hold it, time out. My mask is fogged up, and I can't really see you guys all that well. No timeouts. If your mask is fogged up, tough.
That's nighttime.
Mike, yeah.
You can't see at night either.
Right. Mike, did I describe this accurately or not?
Yes. The first time, it was funny because, okay, we're done. No, we're not. Everybody was ready to quit when you knew this wasn't turning out like you were expecting. I mean, we're talking 1 second or 2 seconds into it, you're ready to quit. And,
absolutely.
It was nothing like you were expecting. And we didn't let it quit. We ran it on through. Then after
until
that,
you guys were out of,
it was completely.
until you guys were out of, you guys kept shooting until you were out of ammo.
Yeah. We weren't going to get shot. You thought we were going to be able to stop it. But no, you're not going to stop it. The only thing you can do is live through it.
And that changed the whole game for when you guys were going to come after me. All of you guys coming after just me. That changed the whole game because I already been shot. I knew what it was like, and it wasn't going to happen again.
And
I made sure it wasn't.
You had the advantage the next time.
Absolutely.
First time, you were at the disadvantage.
Yep.
But after that, you had the advantage all the time.
Nothing takes the place of training, right, guys?
That's exactly right, Tom.
You can own the best guns in the world. You can have the most guns. You can have more ammo than you could carry. Makes no difference if you haven't been trained.
You're absolutely right. And the first time, I had a 45 and a 357 because I could pick anything I wanted. Second time, I had a shotgun, a pump shotgun, yeah, and a 357. And it made a lot of difference. So, Dan, please hold, and we'll talk some more about this. So, Dan, I just wanted to say thank you very much for that offer. So, if we have this event, and it'll be a small event, and the way Mike has it planned, we have to have a minimum of 10 people because it's the way the training is set up. We have to have 10. Can't do it with just a few. But I think it's a wonderful offer, and we'll make sure that that those, if we have it, receive your offer. And I'm looking forward to seeing you. And I think that you got you and two others are coming.
Yes,
is that
sir.
correct?
We'll be there.
Well, if you can get the word out, I don't know how else to do it other than what I'm doing. But if you can get the word out, we'd love to have it because this is. You're going to be traveling how far?
About 100 miles.
Okay. 100 miles each way.
Yes, each way, of course.
Yep. So that's 200 miles. So it's not like you're in Springfield and you're just going to, walk down the block. It's not like that. So 200 miles for, you three guys. Okay. Any other comments you'd like to share with us about, the kind of things that Mike Ma does?
Well, Mike Ma does so much, I couldn't go there. But I would like to define what that membership really amounts to, if you give me just maybe a minute at the most.
Sure, go ahead.
I would encourage people to go to the Front Sight website and look and make sure that I'm not pulling their leg. I wouldn't do that. This is a Commander lifetime membership. It goes for $25,000 if you would stumble on it online. Yes, people have bought them cheaper than that, but not a whole lot cheaper. It allows you to go as many times as you want, take as many classes as you want for the rest of your life. No yearly fees, no yearly dues. When you create your account, you can choose a beneficiary, so this will pass on when you do to somebody you see fit. Guns at dealer cost plus $50. Ammo at 20% over manufacturer cost, guaranteed. When they finish their overnight facility, which is literally going to be world class, right there on the grounds, you can stay for free in that facility when you go to train. There's a lot of other things, a lot of smaller benefits. A fancy hat, pin, which is nothing really in the long run, but it's an absolutely incredible experience. And I've been there. I can speak to it. I'm not just speaking from YouTube. My wife and I were both there. There's no military mindset, but it's extremely professionally done. And it would be a heck of a bonus to walk home with that or drive home with one of those under your belt. So, and that would just make it even more memorable. And Mike's worth the whole thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to get people to wake up and come in. You know, that's all.
Well, you
Appreciate
know,
it, Dan.
Tactics is everything. I mean, it is everything. But the tactics don't really work well if you're not familiar with the tools that you're using.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's where your type of training pays off. It gets so then your tools are just working with you. You don't think about your tools. You can stay focused on tactics. And because tactics will change, talking about the split of a second, they change that quick. But you have to be familiar with whatever it is that you're using. And my weapons, I'm using the same weapons that I've used for over 20 years. Nothing's changed in the way of weapons. Now, my tactics have changed tremendously because I'm older now. I'm much more experienced. And that's right back to the training. The training gives you the experience. And the best experience you can get without, really getting your hands dirty. But you need to have the whole thing. Being familiar with your weapon and the tactics, workable, real tactics. A lot of people watch TV and they think, oh, well, this is the way it's going to be. Well, it doesn't turn out anything like that. And when you have the proper handgun, like for me, I don't have to aim. I know where it's going to shoot. So I can shoot around corners or behind me. I can shoot all different directions easily, laying down, sitting down. But you have to be familiar with your tools to make it work.
Dan Sutterfield, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for the offer.
Thank you. It's Dan. I hope to see a bunch of people there.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, Dan. Mike, the email that you sent me talked about distant gunfire and distant fires throughout the night, smoke in the air, electricity and water unavailable on and off in spots throughout the city. Planes aren't flying. There's a curfew. No one goes to work. How realistic do you think that is?
I've lived through this stuff multiple times. So I know that's why I put this all together when I started thinking about how I don't really want to say martial law, but it'd be a good time to have it. Martial law isn't always as bad as what people think it is, because of we're being Americans and we've had the full advantage of movement. A lot of times, martial law is looked at as a negative thing, and if it's done on a temporary use in certain areas, troubled areas, it works very well. And a lot of times it will start nationwide just to make everybody aware that it is under military control, because the local governments weren't able to control it properly. And a lot of times where I've been, it's because of protesting turned to riots, and it got way out of hand. And like I say, the local law enforcement wasn't able to take care of it, and so they had to call in the military. But you need to know about it because you can't go to these certain areas. And sometimes it'll be taken care of just in a few days. Like I say, in Guatemala, they were in Revolutionary War for about 30 years. So there were certain areas that you couldn't go to. And you need to know about all this stuff. And right now, what's going on here in the United States, there's so much corruption. And I used to tell people when I lived in Guatemala, the United States is corrupt. And they said, no, we're really corrupt. And I said, no, it's worse in the United States, because the United States is so much bigger. So that's why we don't see it. Just like you're living out on a ranch, I'm living on a ranch, we don't see it. We don't see it except for the little stuff that comes on around us. But, man, when you're in a city, look at Portland. There's areas, cities, and now states, Chicago. I heard Illinois, the governor of Illinois says that he wants to make a sanctuary state. And what it is, the mindset is sure not. These people swore to the Constitution of the United States, and they're not doing it. And that's putting all of us in jeopardy. Now, how this is going to be taken care of on a small local level, I don't know, because the corruption is so vast all over the United States. Then they're going to have to do something really nasty. But right now, you see, so far nobody's brought out the guns. Now the price of having the access of guns is there's going to be weirdos using guns. In Central America, guns are illegal. So the only ones that have guns are the police and military. So the criminals that have guns are normally related to the police some way or another. But here, everybody's got it. Now, it's just a matter of time when somebody's going to pull it out and start shooting. And now we've been trained here, or brainwashed, in thinking guns, there's something wrong with guns kill, and that type of stuff, that we're scared of guns, the sight of a gun, and these are the things that are going to, once these people get a hold of their guns, these crazies, and start using them, they're going to have to do something. And like I say, once we start, because I believe our government has been infiltrated through communist and socialist thinking. And they're going to have to take our guns. They got to go against the Constitution. They have to. And we, the people, are individuals. We're not like communists are. They're more tribal. They're more of a collective. And we aren't. We're individuals. It's like you. You're an individual out there in the country. So am I out here. But we lose some of that being an individual when you go and live in the city, because you're living so close to others and you're paying others to do everything for you. When you're out in the country, we're doing it all for ourselves and helping our neighbors. But in the city, they've got a different outlook on how this is going to happen. So realistically, that scenario is, I believe, really realistic. Because like I say, I've lived it, I've done it, and like I say, you've got to be secure in your own home. And people don't even know how to do that anymore. That's the part that I find really amazing. When I was in China, they were shocked when they saw me buying rope, buying crowbars, like this. I wanted to be able to get out of that building. The building that I was living in, I wanted to get out of it. And then when I finally figured out how to get out of it, then I had to start thinking, how can I stay here and stay safe? Because like I say, no firearms, no guns. So I had to come up with other ways of protecting my house there in that apartment place. And I'll tell you, there's a lot that goes on. And China, like I say, if they can do martial law in a zone, one particular zone, they can just cut it off. And, I mean, everything is set up like that. Because, like I say, they're set up as a collective. So they know they're going to have problems in certain areas, and they're able to cut off the electric in certain areas, cut off water, and this type of stuff. So they use it as, like I say, a tool of control, because that's what you do to a collective. You control them. Individuals, you just have to work with them. And so it's going to be a little different here. But like I say, and we're all armed, just as well armed as the military. We just don't have the tactics. We don't know what to do and when to do it and all this stuff. And this is what I do. And this is talking about that. I wanted to kind of clarify, we're not going to be using wax bullets when we do this class thing either. I used the wax, even for you, that was a special thing. I was using wax to SWAT teams. And that's not just all SWAT teams. That was on the extreme level of SWAT teams. So, I mean, they were in for it for the blood and gut. And that's when we use stuff like that. And it's very, very dangerous. Using wax is very dangerous. So, but like I say, it is the one thing that you can put the realistic into your tactics. But like I say, it's not a fun thing, and now I don't do it at all. Like I say, I'm homeless, so I don't have a place to store all the equipment and stuff needed to do it as safe as possible. But like I say, what we're getting ready to go through, we can't avoid it. You can see what they got, those people coming up from Central America. That is going to be another thing. If you're in that area, they're going to be in the martial law on that. I would hope so anyway. That's the only thing they're going to be able to do. It's an invasion, and instead of just invading in small groups like they've been, now they're coming up in mass, and we're going to have to protect the border. And it's going to, wherever they come up to, it's going to have to go into martial law. So, and that's going to be a city is where it's going to be. So, and martial law will come out in different cities. Now, it might go all over the United States to start off with, just to get everybody to realize, just stay calm, because the last thing they want is people to go crazy, and you don't want to go crazy, because you want to be able to have a plan, and that's what I'm saying. You need to be able to at least be safe in your own home. And that means everything that you need is food, water, weapons, tactics, and like you and I, we've got livestock, so we've got to be able to take care of all this stuff. And it's a big thing, and it is coming. There's no way we can avoid it. I'm surprised they haven't done it in, like Chicago's a good example. I don't know how many people they can allow to be killed off before they do something. You know, I mean, I don't know how people can live under those kind of conditions. But anyway, like I say, that's guess why I'm out in the country. I don't have to deal with all
Kyle. Mike Kyle is on with us. Kyle's a USA Preparedness instructor. He is hailing from Montana. Welcome, Kyle.
Good morning, gentlemen. I had a question for you, Mike. I got to talking to a friend of mine, or acquaintance, I should say, yesterday, and he's ex-SWAT, a lot of different training and different things, and I was curious. He said something to me that I had never heard before, that the 9mm bullet for a pistol, he said when you're thinking in survival or hunting or defense or all of these things. He was saying that the 9mm bullet is the superior round for a handgun in a tactical situation or in a defense situation because of the amount of bullets, and also that a 9mm will out-penetrate a 45 or a 40, like when it comes to going through glass, like a windshield or something along those lines. Do you have an opinion on that?
Yes. Well, one thing, loads have changed a lot. And like I say, the 9mm, I have some fancy stuff somebody gave me to try out, and it's very, very quick, and it holds together, and it's everything like you said. Now, but then again, after saying that, I'm starting to turn to 45, but it won't be in a handgun. I can't do the handgun in 45. I've shot too much. It's hurting my wrist. So this is why you see a lot of the smaller carbines using.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Kyle, please stay with us, and we'll finish this. Mike Ma's with us. Kyle in Montana's with us. Mike, so why don't we continue this through, let's say, Monday, and we'll see if we have enough people to have this class that you want to teach in Springfield, Missouri. So, class, if you're interested, please send me an email, instructor@usaprepares.com or Vincent@usaprepares.com. We currently have six people interested, and you heard about what Dan Sutterfield's willing to do with the front sight training and commander membership. It's hard to beat this. So if you're interested, let us know. Otherwise, we won't be able to have it. Kyle, please continue.
Well, I was just curious if what Mike's opinion was on some of the 9mm. This guy was telling me was by far better. He has landed on the Springfield XD for a 9mm pistol for self-defense and concealed carry and all of it. And I just wanted to get your opinion on the 9mm. And you said you were moving to the 45, but not in a pistol. So if you were still able to do a pistol, and you can do a 9mm pistol, why wouldn't you stay with that?
Okay, I'm always outnumbered and outgunned. Where I stand alone is I'm able to strike fear into whatever it is that's a threat to me. And I do it early on. I don't do it in the gunfight itself, even though I do it at that time too. But I try to do it before the first shot. That gives me the mental and the moral high ground to start with, and that'll give me the advantage. And I don't know if you remember, you've heard stories about the Thompson 45, Thompson machine gun 45. They're definitely nasty. I've had one, but I don't like them because they're too big. Now they're making, like say, smaller carbines with 45s, and I didn't really want to do that because everything I've got is set up for 9mm. But I can strike more fear with that 45 than I can with a 9mm. I don't put out as many shots, but okay, like you can get hit with a slingshot with a rock, or you can get a big ball bearing. And, the ball bearing is slower, and but it's bigger. And when it doesn't penetrate as well, but when it hits, there's more uncomfort with it. And that's the big debate between the 223 and the 7.62 x 39. One's bigger and one's smaller. Well, it's the same thing, the 9mm and the 45, but we're talking close range. And like I say, when you're being outnumbered, you got to be able to react quick, and you got to be able to put out enough to put the fear in people. They have to stop the attack before you can go on attack. Okay. Not really. I go on attack all the time. So, but you have to have a good tactics and the right weaponry to do it.
Using that logic, using that logic, then the 9mm seems to be the bullet of choice, because if you have to put out plenty of bullets to get someone to stop, then you would need more ammo. You know what I mean? You'd have more in the clip with a 9mm than you would with like a 40 or 45.
Yes, absolutely right. And that's exactly why I've been using the 9mm for so long. I can follow up on it. I can, do the double tap. I can change, because it's never, I don't ever have one threat. It's always minimum of 6. And, but the idea is that's where the negotiating for your life stuff comes from. I try to change everybody's mind before we get into the getting ugly part.
Excellent. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Kyle. That's Kyle in Montana. So, Mike, it looks like we'll wait till Monday to see if we have enough for this class, which would be next Friday. Next Friday, that's what we're talking about, class, the 26th in Springfield, Missouri. It'll be $50, and you'll get dinner included and at least 4 hours with Mike Ma. And he'll say things that he will not say on the air. And I'll be there. So let us know. Instructor at USA Prepares. Vincent at USA Prepares. Mike, thanks so much for being with us.